First of all, I just want to say hello, and my name is Lara Land. I use the pronouns she and her, and I am zooming in from Andes in the Great Western Catskills, upstate New York, also known as Haudenosaunee Land. In a white turtleneck sweater, in my hiding in my daughter's room, with a beautiful, colorful painting by Amanda Seals, an actress some of you might know, in my background. Um, in the spirit of sensitivity, welcome to ingest the information tonight in a way that's pleasing and nervous system regulating for you, meaning to have your camera off, or you need to get up and walk around, or whatever your needs are, you know them best. If you have the capacity and ability, I would, of course, really love to engage with you by seeing your expressions. That's also part of nervous system regulation. So we regulate a lot from being together, even over the screen. Um, and humans need each other, and human contact is part of how we regulate our nervous system, social engagement. And so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself and the program. I've been teaching yoga for over 2 decades now. My background is in the Ashtanga yoga tradition. I have been to India 11 times for 1 and 2 and 3 months at a time, so large chunks of time. In addition to a very long daily study and teaching Ashtanga practice, I have also trained in trauma sensitive yoga and trauma sensitive mindfulness, in chair yoga, kids and family yoga, and in more recently in somatics. I owned a yoga studio for a long time, and then formed 3.5 Acres Yoga nonprofit in 2014. I think we were legally a nonprofit in 2015. We were formed in Harlem and designed to serve, um, to broaden access to yoga, meditation, mindfulness, and breath work modalities for trauma survivors, and specifically in Harlem and Upper Manhattan. And then as we grew and grew and trained more people, we started taking programs more widely all over Manhattan, and then more recently in the DC area, Maryland, Virginia, and we just keep expanding. Now that our trainings are virtual and many of our programs have gone virtual, we are able to serve folks all over. And we find that the training has translated very, very well, seamlessly, maybe even better, to the online framework, because we don't use touch in our teaching. So you're not missing learning any kind of physical adjustments, and we can all study with each other from all over, um, and from the comfort of our homes. In the training, we go through the several definitions of trauma. We might have thought of trauma in the past, and newer um, agreed upon definitions about what trauma, all the different kinds of um, forms that trauma, and how our body responds when it's been through a traumatic event, and different bodies respond differently. And then we talk about how yoga, and if it's done um, with trauma sensitivity, how it can be helpful in aiding the body in healing from a traumatic event. And we will discuss certain ways of teaching, from how we use our voice, our pacing, our language, to what poses, in what order, are most beneficial for being trauma sensitive. We'll talk about how to set up the room. We'll talk about where to stand, what to do if someone is triggered in a class. Um, we will also talk about your own work to be ready to walk into a yoga class, whether you're teaching in a trauma impacted specific population or in a studio class. We know that over 70% of folks share that they feel they have experienced traumatic stress, probably on the low end and pre-pandemic. So most of us have been touched by trauma in some way. And so if you think you're teaching in a regular yoga class or a studio class, you still want to consider how your words, your body language, your assumptions, your personal history and privileges, and what you bring in that room impacts that room. Because, of course, we all were drawn to teaching yoga to do good and not do harm, although sometimes our impact is not the same as our intention. And that's why we're here, to just get better. We will make mistakes. I will make mistakes. Mistakes are a part of learning, a part of growing, and it's how we are able to downregulate our own nervous system when we make a mistake, to show up, to hear how our intention might not have landed the way we wanted, and to repair that mistake. That is how we heal ourselves, each other, and that ripples into our communities and hopefully outward and outward into healing some of our bigger broken systems over time. You will also get to hear from some other teachers during the training. We'll have a specific unit on equity and race in yoga that will be taught by Donna Noble, and we will have a unit on freeing the voice and using the voice and trauma sensitive vocal techniques with Nikki Walker, who also graduated from the 3.5 Acres program as a teacher, then became a volunteer, a teacher, a senior teacher, and now a teacher trainer. And I share that to really express that there's lots of room for growth and lots of possibility within the organization for those who want to stay with us and grow. And there's lots of mentorship available and lots of different ways to participate in the organization. I know a lot of people get concerned about if they're doing partial volunteer payout for the program, that how will they volunteer if there's no classes in their area. Because we're virtual, you could teach a class that's in a different state, but also there are other ways to make up your volunteer hours, helping with social media, helping promote events, helping promote our trainings, everything from that to grant research, writing, helping our manuals, photography. So if you have other skills, there are ways to volunteer the organization. I think that's the bulk of what I just want to spew out. I'm sure there's a lot more to say, but I would love to hear from you what your questions are. If you're not enrolled but you're thinking about enrolling, maybe what are some of the questions you'd like answered, hesitations, concerns, or anything you'd like to know that I can help resolve and get you going for March. Anyone? You can lift a hand or you can just come off your mic.
Hi, my name is Atmananda. Nice to meet you. And so I'm teaching right now online, only online. And can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay, great. So right now I'm teaching only online, and there is an organization in my town that I'm interested in surveying. I've felt an inner call to kind of reach out to them, and I'm familiar with that organization. It's called, I can't remember what it's called right now. It has specific, acronym which means certain things. But basically, it's for women who have children who have left an abusive family situation and are going to um, a safe this kind of safe house. It's an organization, and multiple families live there, and they're in recovery for or they're attempting for recovery. And so and I have done a fair amount of my own recovery work with 12 steps, and um, used yoga to heal a lot of my trauma that I've experienced, and meditation. I'm a meditation teacher as well. So I'm interested in being able to serve this population. And I am, I'm a Sarupa yoga teacher. I don't know if you've ever heard of Sarupa yoga. It's not a really popular one, but, and so it's very focused on therapeutic yoga. It's about releasing spinal tension. It's very quieting. It's not exercise, bounce around yoga. It's very, so I'm interested to learn more about uh, this style of yoga. And I've studied many styles for my own practice, but this is the only Swarupa is the only style right now that I'm trained in to teach. So I'm interested in learning how these the trauma-informed yoga can work together with the Sutra, or maybe not. Either way, I'm very interested in having that qualification of trauma-informed. I feel like those words, even though the Sutra yoga has helped me heal my trauma, those words aren't anywhere in the Sarupa yoga training. And so there is, I think those words words are important with the training. So I'm just interested to hear a little bit more about taking the training, what will I then offer people? What will I have to offer people?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. And I think what I hear you asking is um, a couple things. One, a question that I think is pretty common, and so I'd like to address first is like, how does this work with the training that I already have, or the style of yoga that I already have? Am I going to be learning? Is this a new style that I'm going to be learning of yoga? So I would say yes and no. The trauma informed is person first, individual first, and balancing of power in the yoga room. Really reminding the practitioner of their own personal power and choice, and helping them to um, reestablish the connection between sensation and being able to identify sensation, and to make decisions for themselves around whether it's a sensation that they want to stay with or move away from. And so it can be done with any posture. So you're learning ways of speaking and being and questioning in the yoga room that you can apply to most any styles or sequences. Now, I will work with a specific set of poses on sequencing in order to teach you this way of working. And also, I'm going to suggest some things about sequencing when you're thinking about being trauma informed. Things, especially around predictability, repetition. These are really positive things for folks who have been through trauma, for all of us, to regulate our nervous system, to know what's going to happen next. And also accessibility. So we're going to work a lot around accessibility. We're going to be doing a lot more chair practices than I'm not sure of your style, but than most people are used to, and offering a lot more options in every shape. Um, so you can take what works, and then apply it to any kind of sequencing. But I will ask you to like try this on for a while, like while you're in the training, right? Like try on teaching different poses or poses in a different way or doing things in a way that, might be like, oh, that's not how I was taught. And, um, you
Mm.
know, that's a positive thing to just give something else a different try, because what you said about your practice being really healing for you is wonderful. And we know that different folks need different tools. And so one of the biggest mistakes that we make as yoga teachers is thinking that this thing that like you do this yoga class and it's like so therapeutic and it feels so good and you let out this cry and you're like, it healed me and it's like so amazing. And then we want to like be the missionaries and share it with everyone. And we forget that we're all coming from different places and our bodies are different. Our mind body systems are different. So it's interesting how we can take this knowledge that we know that like this practice heals, but also step back and say, that thing that worked for me might not work for you. And having some other tools in our body that actually might feel strange for us, but when you share them with a student, they might land differently. And I think that's where we can really grow as teachers.
Thank you so much. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Because I really have, I have seen, I've been teaching this yoga for 14 years, and I've seen how there are um, almost predictably some populations that come into my classes that never return. And it's just like, okay, there are people I'm not serving, and so there must be things that I'm doing, and I want to branch out and learn new things, because there are things that people offer me that don't work for me. So of course I'm going to be offering things that don't work for other people, because that's just the nature of the gig, humanity. And so what style is what you're teaching, the poses that you're going to be teaching? Is it in a particular, are they from a particular style?
I think, most of the postures that we see in the Western, yogas here are pretty, familiar. We'll do a kind of adapted sun salutation, a triangle pose, very familiar postures. I'm going to be using some um, practices from the Ashtanga tradition that are more about um, focus, eye focus, and repetition and things like that. But I wouldn't say it's like very married to a specific style. Anyone else have questions? If you're shy to talk, maybe you want to put them in the chat. We really want to make sure that you're getting the most out of this info session. Any questions that you have. And also,
Sorry, can I just say something?
I'm gonna put you on the screen. For some reason, you are named as Safara.
I know, I don't know what happened.
You can rename.
Safara, I'm sorry,
I
wherever
know
you are.
everyone's having problems. You can rename yourself. Would you mind? Would you like to rename yourself? You just
Yes, I was trying to do that earlier, but I just wanted to say, Atamanda, I feel like I'm not saying that right. That's such a beautiful name. Whatever you do is going to be incredible. I'm sorry. Everything you were talking about, it sounds amazing. So I think it's perfect marriage. That's just my business.
Do you want to share, Nikki? You're on screen now, so do you want to share who you are and?
Oh, hi. I'm Nikki Walker, not Safari Fisher, even though Safari is one of the coolest people in the world. Um, I can't believe I'm old enough to say I'm a senior teacher for 3.5 Acres Yoga. One day I'm going to grow up and really know that I'm a senior teacher. But I just wanted to say that the experience of trauma yoga, the first time many years ago, it's only 4 years ago, when I met Lara, that the weekend training changed my life. That at the end, I told Lara before I left, oh, guess what? You're stuck with me. And she's been stuck with me ever since. Um, if you're gonna do the volunteer hours to get, it's going to go by so quickly because you're learning so much. Honestly, even when you're doing it years and years after that, you're still learning. That's what's beautiful about trauma informed yoga. There's lessons every day, every experience, every lesson, everyone you meet. I mean, even just the last time during this week, at the bridge, one of my favorite places that I teach at, there was this wonderful, wonderful student for the first time. He never did yoga at the bridge, but he's like, I'm a meditator. And he said it so fabulously. And I'm like, oh, these are my people. These are my people. Okay, I'm not crazy. Okay. And he's going to be cool with the mantra. Yeah. And when he was in class and I was teaching, he would do the moves like, mm. And then just disengaged and cold. And I was like, and so to the staff member, Kizzy, I said, Kizzy, is he okay? He didn't seem very engaged. And I was really surprised by that. I mean, he's a meditator. He's my people. And she's like, Nikki, it's just where he's at right now. He's really trying to deal with his circumstances. And she's talking to me about what he's going through. And I was surprised. I'm like, see, that's a lesson. Trauma, I forgot all the lessons of trauma-informed yoga, where it's like, keep the judgments, making the decisions like, oh, that's what that is. Oh, no, she's that. No. Take the person where they're at. And you're teaching them to take your body where you're at. Not before, not 30 years ago, not 20 minutes ago. Just take the now. I think that was a good lesson. And I know the next time I teach, there's going to be another lesson. So there's always something to learn. But like my mom said, isn't every day something to learn? So come and enjoy 3.5 Acres Yoga. It's my family. Right, Safara?
I wonder if Safara
Yes,
is.
can you
Oh,
hear me?
Safara is here.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
Safara.
Safara, are you on?
Hi.
You're on the phone?
I'm on the phone. We had a double up with the videos. Monica will share more about that, but it's all good. I'm here. I've been listening, loving what I'm hearing. And Nikki, thank you so much for the warmth and the love. Nikki shared exactly, like I just wanted to share that when I took the training, I was in a space where I was trying to find a way that I could speak authentically as a yoga teacher from where I'm at. Meaning, I work with a chronic condition, and I was in yoga classes or teaching, and I just wasn't having the experience of being connected to others in a way that felt authentic to me, but also didn't resonate within my body. And what I was missing in that was what I learned about when I went to the training, and what gave me the ease and the freedom to say, wait a minute, there's what I've defined and what I've known as yoga and practice, and then there's what is considered my yoga practice,
which is the choice that I give myself each time I practice, and which I give my students, to say, we're practicing together and choose what is right for you. Meaning, while you're providing shape, and this is language also that you'll pick up that's extremely helpful. While you're instead of doing poses, pose this, pose this, you're enjoying having the experience of sensation in your body, breath, and at the same time creating shape, right? Through the different types of quote unquote poses. But what's more important is that the person themselves is having their own experience of the practice and noticing, practicing a lot of noticing what's going on. If I just, if I put my feet down and I put a little more into the right foot, and I take my mind to my feet and just bring my attention to this area, what sensations come up, if anything? And you're moving in this slow progression of attention of mind to the sensations while you're experiencing with the community of people that you're with, they're themselves having their own practice. So you're just a guide, which is a lot different than what a typical sort of standard yoga practice is. And what does that give people who have been through trauma, who experience trauma, who, live with the day-to-day chronic and long-term effects of a lot of their disabilities, of their struggles, is that you have a sense of autonomy of self with your body, and you're speaking, you're having a dialogue. It's like it's a body-mind. You're developing that relationship. And that is, it's a whole other way of being with your community of fellow yogis. And the language that you use, the feedback, and also think about the communities that you'll be serving. I mean, I've worked in I've only been with 3.5 Acres Yoga. I think I guess I'm on my second year now, maybe about second year. But I've been able to work with, especially for me, you can't see me, but I am a person of color. And I was really seeking during COVID to find a way to connect with Black, Indigenous people of color and support, and especially with everything going on. But you get to work with, disadvantaged, marginalized communities. You get to work with people who, for example, battered women's shelters. You get to work with LGBTQ, folks who have been homeless and are needing to have safe space within themselves, within their environment, all of these sort of things. You get to work with, I got a wonderful opportunity to work with women, Black, Indigenous people of color, women, particularly BIPOC, who are cancer survivors. This is my last. I mean, the range is unbelievable. And if you're someone who's practicing, because that's also part of what your practice is about, then this bridges the two together beautifully. And the support, the community, Nikki shared, you're like a family. And I'm not kidding. I've only known everyone online, and they literally, it's unbelievable. And I want to just say, for the last thing for the training is, a lot of trainings are strictly online, meaning you don't get the practice time or the conversation, question and answer in the actual online learning. You learn through a module or it's not like that. I mean, I was sad at the end of the practice because I didn't want to leave everybody at the end of the weekend, because you spend the time together and your questions get answered. You get to practice. You have to practice to, to complete it. So, and then, like Lara said, there's so many ways to be a part. There's IG Live, as a volunteer. Instagram Live, you can do that. Then there's the ways that she explained for different volunteer offerings that you can provide, which, could be administrative, could be participating in, groups, could be, there's so many different things. So it's just wonderful. Hope I didn't speak too long.
Not at all. Thank you so much, Safara. Thank you for being here. And I think it's such an important part what you said about, what we didn't talk about is really the mentorship, then the ongoing alumni quarterly meetups where we continue to offer training even after the training, because we need time to digest, right? If I overwhelm you over a weekend, then it's just like it's too much. So you need to integrate the main trainings, and then I give additional trainings quarterly. Many of our grads meet together to practice. So I think that was such an important part. And Safara, of course, has, sorry, my child is turning 3 and going through some bit of a mommy thing. Being part of events like Soul Fest, and we have different events, and you're right, we're very much a community, whether it's meeting online. We have coming up next week a mocktail, raising spirits, sobriety, mixology fundraiser. So we have lots of fundraisers. We have a junior board. So there's just a lot of ways to be involved. Thank you, Nikki and Safara. Anyone else have questions? Just want to really give you the chance. If you have a question, just come right off the mic or put it in the chat. I'm gonna send it over to Monica to just say some closing comments.
Hey everyone, I'm actually just going to post our mocktail event for next week. If you guys are interested in joining, it's to support our programs with the Phoenix, which is a sober active community. I think they're based in Washington, D.C. They're based in New York. I think we also have some teachers out in Massachusetts working with them. It's a national organization. So I'm just going to post that in the chat. Give me 1 second here. Oops. And thank you all for joining. Does anyone have any additional questions? I am seeing a question. How do you transition from teaching to connecting with the virtual community? That's Alba Marina asking a question here. Lara.
How do you transition from teaching to connecting with virtual community? Do you mean... Do you think you can expand on that question? I'm not 100% sure if you're asking.
Yeah, sorry. I was just basically trying to figure out, because I've done trainings online and I'm doing my teacher training online. So I guess, and I'm also present in like a physical community here in LA. So I'm just trying to like kind of grasp how I can take what I'm learning with virtual trainings to like all my communities, because it's very new and I haven't taught yet. I've only taught like a couple of parts of class, but not like a full class. So I just wanted to hear a little bit more insight how you guys help students with building that confidence to teach in any community, really.
Nope, Lara, you're...
Sorry, on mute.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for expounding on that. Now I understand. So we do that in a few ways. One is we actually, Monica is the head of it. We have an outreach program where we are constantly reaching out to nonprofits and community centers, shelters, recovery centers, in the different areas where we have teachers. So if we have a few teachers out in LA now, so we'll help you. We'll actually can help to bring an organization in partnership with 3.5 Acres if you wanted to volunteer through our organization. The perks to that are we sort of manage the relationship, all the back end of stuff. So we really help you with what that means to get into an organization that's a whole, that can be a tricky and process.
Thank you. No, that was very helpful. I believe you and I have met like in the beginning of Soulfest years ago. And that's how I've kind of been like involved with still keeping up with you guys and stuff. So this is very refreshing.
That's great. And and also to the question of building confidence, I can really say that comes from teaching. Like it comes from being in the classroom. And the way that I see that best done, and the folks that do really well, is they go and observe classes first, and that's part of our program. We allow you to observe our classes, so you can observe teachers like Nikki and Safara, and you'll see that there are two of our senior teachers, and they have very different styles in some ways, but they're both wonderful. So it's great to see different teachers and how they use the training, and as you develop your own voice as a yoga teacher, because we're not all meant to be the same, right? And you'll get more confident. You observe them. You can have a chance to assistant teach, co-teach a class. Maybe you'll teach the part of the class that you feel most comfortable teaching. So it's and then maybe build to, describing a posture or a closing sequence that's maybe more, outside of your comfort zone. So it's about being in that growth space, not overwhelming, and also, pushing ourselves a little bit slowly to try new things. So yeah, I think doing sometimes online training and then it's over, it can leave us feeling a little bit alone, not sure what to do with our skills. So I think it's a great question, and I think it's up to you. If you want to stay a part of the community, there are many things you can take advantage of. Obviously, you've been around for a while if you were around at those early Soul Fest, so thank you, and thanks for sticking with us. That's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate this call, guys.
Thank you, Alba Marina. Is that how you say you pronounce your name? Alba Marina?
Yeah, Alba Marina.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Do we have any other questions? Last questions? If not, then we can close this meeting, and I will follow up with each and every one of you after this call, provide some additional details if you haven't registered already, or if you are registered. Yes, thank you so much. All right, well, we'll close here. And
Thank you, Monica.
I'll follow up with everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Namaste.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I